Today we're going to talk about the Levo SL and the Levo, compare them, see how they're the same and how they're different, and hopefully help you find the right bike for you. So the Levo SL was introduced about a month ago, and it's not meant to replace the Levo, which was introduced about 2 years ago, but they're born out of the same genome, the stump jumper with 150 millimeters of travel front and rear. And they're both class 1 e-bikes, 250 watts of average power, and both competing in the competitive trail and all mountain space. So how are they different? So pretty quickly, even though born out of the same egg, they kind of separated and formed their own path. And we're going to talk about many different factors on how they're different, and hopefully help you guide you towards the right decision for you. The first factor is appearance. Not a lot of people want to admit it, but nobody wants to buy an e-bike that looks like a motorcycle. Number one on our surveys, that and the weight are the top two. They're not universally accepted yet. It used to be 80% you get heckled, and now maybe 20%. But still, you don't want to call attention to yourself. You don't want it making a lot of noise, looking big and burly and 100 pounds. You just want something discreet. And in that end, this one is a lot more discreet than this one. It looks good. And in many angles, you can't actually tell that it's an e-bike. And that's because the down tube, which houses the battery, is so small and beveled that it looks discreet. The motor is very small. And it doesn't protrude up from the chainring almost, whereas this one is a little bigger, and you can see the motor is tilted up to allow the battery to slide down. So a lot more stealth on the Levo SL. The next thing we want to talk about is weight. Weight is probably the number one objective of the Levo engineers when they started this project a long time ago. And what they did was they dropped 9 pounds, 47 pounds on this one, 38 pounds on both S-Works bikes, and that follows down the line. Even as you go cheaper, the heaviest version of the SL is still lighter than the lightest version of the Levo by a lot. And how they did it, they dropped a lot of weight in the motor. Over 4 pounds to just over 2 pounds, and also the battery. Those are the primary things that they worked on. Of course, nothing is for free. Everything is a compromise, and it leads me to the next factor, which is power. How are they different in terms of power? This one, even though they're both average 250, 240 watts, there's really the issue of peak power. Peak power, what the motor goes to with the temperature unrestricted, meaning the temperature can go up. Nominal power, the temperature has to stay the same. So for 30-second bursts, 5-minute bursts, peak power is what you're looking for. And this one goes to 565 watts. This one, it doesn't change, 240 watts. So it's not really allowed to heat up, right? The other thing is torque. Torque is how much crank turning power do you have. This one is 90 Newton meters and this one is 35. So this one can take you for a ride. This one you have to ride, meaning you have to shift before that switchback and you have to get on the pedal, especially at low RPM. It's just not going to give you any wattage and torque at low RPM. So the next thing we want to talk about is handling. Handling. Given that weight and power, how does it handle? Which is the number one, really, how you don't want to diverge from this bike. This one is a nimble beast. It rides a lot like my Evil Reckoning, or my older Specialized Enduro, where it's about 35 pounds, and you could change the direction on it real quickly. You can pop off little roots, little rocks. Very agile, very involved ride, and you could play with boring, tame trails. This one is more of a DH beast. It rides a lot like a downhill bike that you don't have to pedal as hard uphill. Meaning it's very planted, very secure. The front tire does not wash out. So I haven't really crashed on my Levo that I've had for a couple of years. but it's not as playful. You know, you want to change direction in midair. If you know how to do that, that's tough. You want to pop off a small route, not gonna happen. You want to, you have a switchback and you want to flip like this, pre-turn and then turn, hard. It's doable, but you're gonna have to muscle this bike with all your might and actually develop some upper body muscles. So that's the handling difference. And this really, to me, handles so good on the variety of trails. This one handles good at North Star, Downeyville, and whatnot, but this one has a kind of a sweeter range on simpler trails close to your home. The next thing to talk about is range. What's the range? That's the number one thing you get asked on the trails, right? What's the range on that? Oh, it's 100 miles. So we're not going to talk about miles because miles is so deceiving. Instead, we talk about hours and altitude because no, miles is only good if the trail is flat, right? It's really about 80 to 100 miles for either one. So this is good for a 4 or 5 hour ride with a 700 watt hour battery. And this one has a much smaller battery at 360 plus 160 on the water bottle when you buy it. And it is good for about 4 to 5 hour ride. Good for about 5 to 7,000 feet of climbing for my build. Good for 5 to 7,000 feet of climbing. Strange? Well, it's because of 3 or 4 different things. And the number one is this bike expects a lot more from you. It's not going to take you for a ride. There's no shuttle mode. It'll only give big power if you put in at least 110 watts. This one is so configurable. You can just soft pedal it and it'll give you all its power. So it expects more from the rider. You have to take it for a ride. The next one is just lighter, 9 pounds lighter. It's worth something, right? Another thing is there's very low drag from the motor, meaning when the motor is off or when you go past the speed limit of 20 miles an hour, you can still pedal this. I was so shocked. I was pedaling 22, 23 miles an hour on this. And this one, there's no chance I could do it. So that's just the whole difference on how they built these motors. Nice one-way bearings on these. And finally, this one, it doesn't allow the motor to heat up or to work in the most demanding battery conditions, which is low RPM conditions. Before a switchback, you actually have to shift gears. It's not going to give you anything. This one, you can start off on a 25% hill from 0. Just move the pedal and it's going to go. So big difference. This one can take you for a ride. And you know, if you're just getting back into the sport or you really hate climbing, you can go with this. This one you gotta like climbing a little bit. Another thing I want to get into is the upgrade paths and competition for these bikes. So this bike, you can go heavier or lighter on both bikes. But this bike I went lighter. I didn't really gain much. Lost a couple pounds. Bike didn't really change. It went from 46 to 44. So you really want to go heavier on this bike if you're going to upgrade it. Meaning put some coil shocks, front and rear. Really take advantage of the best suspension when you're not really concerned about weight as much. Put some burly tires, maybe a 170 fork. This could be a downhill bike, really. And it's got the power to propel you anywhere, get you up the big mountains with a lot of effort or with little effort. Some of my best rides have been on this bike at Downeyville. Instead of just taking the shuttle ride, I descend 9,000 feet, climb 5, so works out good. This one, you really want to make it lighter, if anything. Maybe put a 160 fork if you're gonna take it on road trips. But where it's really intriguing is it's about 36.5 pounds right now on a medium tubeless, but you can take it down to 34, maybe 33. That can get real interesting. Optimize your rims and your tires for what you're doing. So I can actually have this bike and just ride it with no battery, maybe. Huh? That would be interesting. So competition, a lot of competition on this. This is the most sought after category in mountain biking, in e-biking, not just e-biking, but the whole mountain biking. This is the category, 45 to 55 pound all mountain e-bikes. But it's doing very well. It's #1 rated in all our surveys It's what we see on all the trails because the motor is so smooth and the integration is so amazing. This one, it really has no competition. You know, it's the first of its kind, under 40 pounds, significantly under 40 pounds. So it's very unique. And they did that because they developed their own motor and their own battery. Very hard to do if you're just getting an off-the-shelf motor and battery. So for that, because of that, when we talk pricing, the pricing is very different. This one, they're both not cheap. These are S-Works, but the entry level for this is $5,000. Entry level for this is $6,500, so $1,500 more. And S-Works, same difference. So shows you you have to pay for all the R&D that occurred on this bike. And finally, what's the right bike for you? You tell me. Are you the XC athlete? Or are you the descender or the guy trying to get back into it? Are you that big body type? Maybe here. For me, what's really so intriguing is they both have a spot in my garage. You know, I have like 5 different mountain bikes that are non-e-bikes in my garage. So why should I just have one e-bike? So this is going to be my all-mountain downhill bike, and this one's going to be my trail XC bike. I'm going to make this heavier, make this lighter. So I think it's going to be a fascinating time. So there you go. Let me know what bike is going to be good for you, and support your local bike shop. I'm at Trailhead Bikes right now in Cupertino. They have like 20 of these bikes, and you can actually take them out for a ride. So enjoy the ride. Thank you.